film begins in the Age of Legends, when kings attacked the earth, spreading destruction everywhere. At that moment, the goddess Athena, queen of war and wisdom, decided to protect the planet, entering into a great war against the other kings. In the end, she managed to defeat them, but disappeared after the war ended. 18 years later, Athena reappeared, but in the form of a human infant girl. With her return, the kings also resurfaced, gathering together with the goal of killing Athena before she could regain her power. Then, a group of knights from different parts of the world appeared, possessing immense power derived from the stars, known as the Knights of Cosmo. These knights vowed to protect Athena from the threat of the kings. Among them was a powerful gold knight who sacrificed his life to save her, carrying her in his arms and descending to earth to protect her. In the present time, a young man named Seiya appears, one of the fighters in street fight clubs. He held a picture of his sister Patricia in his hand, recalling childhood memories with her, when she used to teach him martial arts so he could defend himself. As he gazed at the necklace his sister wore, a surge of energy erupted from it, striking him with great force and knocking him to the ground. Cassius, the club owner, cut these moments of memory short, instructing Seiya to prepare for the upcoming match. Seiya entered the fighting ring, facing a violent opponent who attacked him with powerful strikes. Yet Seiya dodged every blow without retaliating, angering the crowd that craved excitement. At that point, Cassius decided to intervene personally to ignite the crowd's enthusiasm. He stepped into the ring, striking the fighter with a single punch that sent him out of the ring, then turned to Seiya and attacked with a speed Seiya could not match. He grabbed him and hit him so hard that Seiya could no longer stand. Just as Cassius was about to throw him to the ground, a supernatural force burst from Seiya's body, propelling him away with tremendous power. Seiya rushed out of the ring and ran toward the locker room, confused by what had just occurred. At that moment, a man named Armin appeared, pleased with what he had witnessed. While Seiya was gathering his belongings to leave, Dekrat, Armin's assistant, entered and informed him that someone wanted to meet him, knowing he was looking for his sister. Seiya went with them. Outside the club, Cassius called an unknown person and told them that he had found one of the Knights of Cosmo. Armin was in a hurry, telling Seiya that he had to leave immediately because the power he had revealed in the fight was Cosmo energy, and that a group of warriors would arrive soon to capture him and deliver him to their leader Gerard, Armin's ex-wife, who hunts anyone possessing the power of Cosmo. Armin gave him the choice: go with him or face Gerard's warriors. Indeed, Gerard's warriors appeared, clad in powerful armor. As soon as Seiya saw them, he ran with Armin, while Dekrat tried to hinder them, but was injured and lost consciousness. Seiya and Armin fled, only to be surprised by the appearance of Malak the Guardian, who began shooting at the warriors. The bullets had no effect on them, but slowed them down slightly. Seizing the opportunity, Malak took Armin and Seiya into his car and sped away, only to be met by a plane flying above, firing at them. Malak sped away in the car, fleeing from the plane that was pursuing them, driving non-stop until he reached a long tunnel. The plane fired a missile at the car, but Malak managed to enter the tunnel at the last moment before the explosion hit them. Everyone entered the tunnel, and Seiya stepped out of the car, still stunned by what was happening, asking Armin for a clear explanation. But Malak injected him with a sedative, causing him to lose consciousness immediately. Seiya sank into a dream that took him back to the day he lost his sister Patricia, the day their home was attacked. Patricia had hurriedly woken him, hidden him inside a closet, and told him not to come out no matter what happened. Moments later, Gerard and her forces stormed the house, snatching the necklace from Patricia's neck. She thanked Patricia for using the power of the Knights of Cosmos chain, which allowed her to locate her. Gerard then took Patricia and left, leaving Seiya hidden and helpless. Seiya suddenly woke up to find himself on a plane with Armin and Malak. He was extremely confused, trying to make sense of what was happening. Armin reassured him and explained that he was trying to protect him from Gerard, who kidnaps young people possessing Cosmo power like him and drains their strength for her own use. The plane landed at Armin's headquarters, where he began telling Seiya the story of Queen Athena and her extraordinary power, which combined war and wisdom. He explained that Athena had manifested in human form many years ago, that Seiya was one of the distinguished knights of Cosmo, and that his title was Pegasus Knight, the chosen knight to protect Athena. He revealed that Patricia had known this, and had surrendered to Gerard, sacrificing herself to protect him. At that moment, a girl named Sienna appeared, who was the goddess Athena grown up. Armin told Seiya that Gerard was frantically searching for her, trying to find her location by any means. Sienna handed Seiya a box containing the Knights of Cosmo chain that had belonged to his sister Patricia. Armin explained that this chain was the secret to his power, and that it would grant him the ability to acquire the Pegasus armor. But before that, Seiya needed real training under Marin, known as the Silver Knight, to learn to control his extraordinary power, protect Sienna, and eventually find his sister. Seiya's mind was overwhelmed and unable to comprehend what he was hearing, so Armin suggested he rest until the next day. Meanwhile, Gerard was at the fighting club with Nero and her personal guard. It became clear that she was the true owner of the club and that Cassius was working for her. She was furious at his failure to capture Seiya and told him that she had created the club as a means to discover the Knights of Cosmo. After what had happened, he had become useless. However, Cassius insisted that he could still find Seiya and would capture him himself. To prove his strength, he engaged in a fierce battle with Gerard's warriors, demonstrating remarkable skill that impressed her. She decided to take him to her headquarters and conduct experiments on him, intending to grant him a power similar to her forces to defeat Seiya. The next day at the palace, Seiya was having breakfast with Sienna when she suddenly lost control of her power. A tremendous energy burst from her, causing metal armors to descend from the palace ceiling, enclosing the area to contain her energy and prevent Gerard from discovering her location. Armin quickly arrived and calmed her until she regained awareness. Seiya sat with Sienna by the sea, and she told him that the kings had tried to kill her since her birth. At that moment, the Gold Knight appeared and sacrificed his life to save her. Armin and his wife Gerard had found the girl in his arms. Gerard focused on the armors, conducting experiments that developed advanced combat technology, while Armin took care of Sienna as his daughter. At the same time, Gerard was in her laboratory, draining the power of a captured Knight of Cosmo. She used his energy to heal an injury on her hand, and then ordered Nero to find Sienna before her power reached its full potential, as reaching it would destroy the world. Nero assured her that he had captured Dekrat, Armin's assistant, and would soon learn Sienna's location from him. The next day, Malak took Seiya by plane to the Silver Knight's Island to begin his rigorous training and learn how to harness his latent power. Malak pointed to the mountain across from them and told Seiya that he had to climb it to reach Marin. Seiya began his ascent, eventually reaching a high place where Marin resided, only to discover that she was a woman, not a man, and that the title of Silver Knight also applied to her. The moment Marin saw him, she handed him a small stone and asked him to break it with his fist. Seiya tried repeatedly but failed every time. Marin then told him that within him lay the power of the stars extending across the universe, and that he needed to clear his mind to be able to use it. Seiya closed his eyes, attempting to focus, but the image of his sister Patricia appeared in his mind, distracting him and preventing him from breaking the stone. Marin explained that his memories formed a barrier between him and his true power. She then began his real training, engaging him in a fierce battle, using her power to lift him into the air and slam him to the ground, while also shattering a stone pillar behind him, scattering debris all around. Marin said in a stern voice, "If you do not rid yourself of your painful memories, you will never reach your inner power." Meanwhile, at the palace, Sienna was asleep when she had a terrifying dream. She dreamt that she transformed into Athena and lost control of her power, destroying the world around her. She awoke in terror, and Armin ran to calm her until she regained her composure. The next day, Seiya began learning from Marin how to control his power. She told him that he needed to overcome the pain he carried inside in order for his armor to accept him and become part of him. Seiya focused all his energy, finally managing to control his emotions and release the memories that had bound him, then struck the stone with a single blow, shattering it completely. At that moment, Nero had gone to Dekrat's cell. Placing his hand on Dekrat's forehead, he penetrated his mind, forcing him to see a terrifying monster manifest before him. Dekrat screamed, begging him to stop this nightmare, but Nero refused, threatening to let him fight his fears to the death if he did not reveal Armin's palace location. On the island, Marin placed a massive stone before Seiya and asked him to break it using his inner power. Seiya concentrated all his energy, gathering his strength and smashing the stone completely. Suddenly, his chain began to move and rise into the air, transforming into a box from which a legendary winged horse emerged, before it disassembled and turned into armor that wrapped around Seiya's body. It was the Pegasus armor. However, Seiya felt sharp pain in his head as his memories returned, seeing Armin standing beside Gerard during Patricia's abduction. At that moment, Seiya realized that Armin had known the location of his sister all along and had refused to tell him. Distracted by these memories, he lost control of his power, and the armor reverted to its original form as a chain around his neck. Seiya returned to his normal state and demanded that Marin take him back to the palace immediately, or kill him. Determined, Marin agreed and returned him to the palace. Seiya arrived in a state of intense anger, shouting for Armin to tell him where Patricia was. Sienna tried to calm him and took him away from the palace until they sat by the sea. There, Sienna confessed the full truth. She revealed that Armin had indeed participated in hiding Patricia, and that the reason was herself. She had been a child when she lost control of her power, which had severed Gerard's hands completely. Gerard had nearly died, but Armin had saved her using the power of the Gold Knight's armor. Since then, Gerard needed the star power within the Knights of Cosmo to survive. When she found the chain with Patricia, she thought it belonged to one of the knights. When she discovered Patricia had no power, she released her, but but ordered her men to monitor her to learn the chain's true owner. Therefore, Patricia chose to disappear from her brother to protect him from Gerard. Sienna also told him that Gerard had once tried to kill her, but Armin had carried her away at the last moment. Once Sienna finished speaking, she asked Seiya for a difficult promise. If she ever lost control of her power and transformed into Athena, the Queen of War, he must stop her no matter the cost. Seiya hesitated briefly, but finally agreed, holding her hands tightly to assure her he would. Suddenly, they saw Gerard's plane heading toward Armin's palace at high speed. The two ran toward the palace to save Armin and Malak, but Gerard arrived before them using her immense power. Cassius and his men stormed the place, eliminating Armin's soldiers, and Cassius approached Armin to kill him. But Gerard demanded he leave and face her alone. At that moment, Malak was heading to the plane to search for Sienna and escape with her, but he encountered a group of Gerard's soldiers, fighting them with special bullets capable of piercing their armor. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Gerard faced Armin, furious because he had escaped with Sienna years ago. Armin told Gerard that Sienna did not intend to harm her. While they were talking, Gerard noticed Sienna arriving at the palace with Seiya. Armin then grabbed a detonator and threatened Gerard, saying he would blow up the entire palace if she tried to approach Sienna. But Gerard called Cassius, who rushed toward Armin, snatched the detonator from him, smashed it, and then struck him with blows that knocked him to the ground. After that, Gerard ordered Cassius to kidnap Sienna and kill Seiya. Cassius immediately rushed into battle, facing Seiya in a fierce fight. Seiya tried to use the power of the chain, but it was not enough to defeat his opponent. In the end, he fell to the ground while Cassius pummeled him with heavy punches. At that moment, Malak had dealt with Gerard's soldiers and hurried toward the plane, taking off and moving away from the area. Inside the palace, Armin activated the bomb and threw it toward Gerard, attempting to eliminate her, but she ran swiftly, boarded the plane, and rose into the air, preventing the bomb from exploding. The result was a massive explosion that scattered everyone around the palace, knocking them to the ground. Seiya saw Cassius taking Sienna along with two of his men and moving away with her. He tried to follow them, but having lost all his power, he collapsed unconscious. The next day, Sienna was restrained inside Gerard's laboratory. Gerard ordered Nero to start extracting energy from Sienna's body. Sienna felt immense pain each time energy was drawn from her. Meanwhile, Seiya awoke to find Malak beside him, but he felt deeply frustrated for failing to save Sienna. Seiya closed his eyes, and Marin appeared in a vision, telling him that he first needed to understand who he truly wanted to save. Seiya realized that he had to save himself first and let go of the guilt he carried over his sister Patricia's kidnapping. He reconciled with the image of the child he once was, telling himself that what had happened was not his fault, and vowed to continue searching for his sister until he found her. Seiya awoke from his vision and, together with Malak, headed toward Gerard's palace to rescue Sienna. As they approached, the radar detected them, and cannons began firing. Malak shouted for Seiya to jump from the plane immediately. Seiya stopped at the door, connected with the chain around his neck, and his body began to glow. Without hesitation, he jumped. Upon hitting the ground, a powerful explosion occurred, and Seiya appeared in the form of Pegasus Knight. He attacked Gerard's forces and defeated them in moments. At that point, Cassius appeared, rushing from the air towards Seiya, but Seiya met him with a powerful strike that destroyed Cassius' armor and killed him. Inside the laboratory, Gerard felt Sienna's intense pain and ordered Nero to stop the machines, but he refused, insisting that they were about to drain her power completely and control over her was imminent. Nero grabbed his chain, revealing his true form, the Phoenix Knight. He attacked the laboratory soldiers, defeating them, then struck Gerard, taking control of her and extracting the power that had sustained her life all these years, nearly killing her. Suddenly, Seiya burst into the room, rushing towards Sienna to protect her. Nero stood in his way, and a fierce battle erupted between them, ending with both of them bursting through the roof to the top of the building. The battle was fierce, destroying everything around them. At a crucial moment, Nero attacked Seiya with his full power. Seiya summoned the strength of Pegasus Knight, forming a shield from the power of the stars. The two forces collided violently, producing a massive explosion that destroyed the entire building. Seiya and Nero fell together inside the laboratory after the explosion. At that moment, Gerard rushed to disconnect the machines from Sienna. But it was too late. Sienna had already entered the transformation stage into Athena, the Queen of War. She rose into the air, and an immense power began to erupt from her body, a force that threatened to obliterate everything around her. Nero recovered from his injuries and charged towards Sienna, attempting to kill her before she completely lost control. But as soon as he approached, her energy shattered his armor entirely and threw him away with a destructive force that caused the entire place to explode in a massive blast. Amidst this destruction, Seiya gathered the remaining strength within him and approached Sienna, calling out to her, recalling her words when she had previously asked him to stop her if she lost control. He told her firmly that she was not the Queen of War, and that she had chosen to protect humanity on her own. Seiya's armor had vanished, and his body was burning from the intense energy around him, nearing death, yet he continued forward. He confessed his love to her and promised that he would remain by her side no no matter what. Sienna was moved by his words and began to calm down gradually. Her power finally subsided, and the wave of destruction that could have destroyed Earth receded. After a few minutes, Sienna regained consciousness and returned to her normal form, finding herself in Seiya's arms. She thanked him for keeping his promise. Then Sienna turned to Gerard, who was on the verge of death. Gerard apologized for everything she had done. Sienna forgave her, then placed her hand on Gerard's body, healing her and restoring her to her normal state. Afterward, Sienna and Seiya went to Malak and boarded the plane with him. In a distant location, Nero stood watching everything that had happened, his eyes filled with anger and hatred. The next day, Sienna and Seiya were on the Silver Knights Island. Sienna told Seiya that using her power could cause the ancient kings to rise and fight against her again, and that they needed to find a group of Cosmo Knights to stand by their side in the upcoming battle. Seiya replied that he would always serve her. She smiled and thanked him, then said that it was time to search for his sister, Patricia. And that's the end of the movie. Don't forget to like, subscribe to catch all upcoming summaries, and share your movie suggestions in the comments. See you next time.